Hey guys, how's it going? Kripparrian here. So today I want to bring you guys my perspective on the future of Arena, or at least as the devs described their plans in a recent Q&A Designer Insights video. I've linked the video below. It's very long and largely focuses on the constructed side of things, but we generally don't really care about that. I generally feel constructed is in a bad enough spot that any change they make would be positive, so their job is really easy. But nonetheless, they didn't really go over any of the proposed changes for constructed. They mostly talked about the future of Arena, and this is where my focus in Hearthstone is, so I thought you guys might enjoy my perspective on the matter. So, now, where are we at with Arena right now? So you guys can understand, because you might watch this video a little bit later and might not understand where I'm really coming from. So Arena right now, about in the middle of the main streets of Gadgetzan expansion, is in an okay place. The class diversity is very good. The only three underrepresented classes are Druid, Warrior, and Hunter, and I actually feel Hunter is one of, if not the best Arena classes right now, though it may be more difficult to play than some of the traditionally powerful ones. And I do not feel like Druid and Warrior are far behind. I think if people specialize in Druid or Warrior, it could actually be one's best class. I think the margins are pretty small between the overall win rates, and I think in terms of class diversity, we are in the best spot ever in Arena, and that really was the strength of the main streets of Gadgetzan expansion. However, there are still a few problems. The main problems that I think exist in the game. Number one, I really dislike the going first versus going second win difference, and it can be huge. I think it shrunk a little bit in main streets of Gadgetzan, but it's still really bad shape. Factors that affect this are cards that instantaneously win the game in the first 2 or 3 turns, because if you go first, you can establish a game-winning board scenario before your opponent can. And main streets of Gadgetzan, as well as a lot of the recent expansions, actually do push for a lot of these cards. They also push for a lot of cards that have a lot of win more effects, like Inspire cards, though they're not making any more of those. They are making a lot more end of turn effect cards, which are again extremely win more cards. So that direction is pretty poor, but we'll have to see what the future brings. The other thing is the deck quality is just, a gigantic spectrum. And I think this comes from the nature of decks in Arena can be so incredibly powerful. I've played against opponents, and okay, maybe I've had a few arenas as well that could literally compete for, decent rankings in Constructed. And with Constructed being as cutthroat as it is right now, it's just really an unimpressive feat. So when you're playing against these guys and, you don't have a good deck, you actually get completely smashed. And regardless of how good you are at the game and how bad they might be at the game, you will get slaughtered. So because of this, gigantic difference in power level of decks, a lot of the skill is removed. So there's a few other small issues as well, but generally that is the problems facing Arena. So in the dev Q&A, they mentioned the directions that they want to move Arena in, and it is as follows. So number one, and the biggest thing they talked about, is making Arena the standard format. Now, I don't believe they said that they will for sure do this, but they are thinking about it, and when they talk about something like this, because Blizzard is a fairly careful company when releasing insights, when releasing plans, I would say that they are very likely to do this. So how will this affect Arena right now? It does improve an aspect that is a bit of a problem, and I don't know if it'll be fixed. It's the fact that, you can never really be bothered to play around cards, because the chance that they have a board clear, except for maybe exactly Flame Strike, is so ridiculously low that the odds are in your favor to play into cards, and if you get punished, you get punished. So again, that skill factor is absent, and making it standard reduces the overall number of cards, but it's still a pretty large card pool. And it can still be very difficult. It has to do with the distribution of cards, right? So right now you get a ton of commons in any arena deck. Probably about 25 out of the 30 cards in your deck are usually common quality. So if there is a board clear in the most recent expansion and it's the common quality, you can play around it. But except for that, it's really not worth playing around. So I'm not so sure that making it, standard will really noticeably change this. So I think it's still probably going to be in roughly the same state. You'll have better odds to play around stuff, and you might a little bit more be able to leverage your experience and skill in Arena, but not remarkably so, I believe. Making it standard also makes it so you can draft a lot more synergy. So again, this is kind of a strange one. Having a lot of synergies comes with the fact that a lot of expansions have internal synergy. So for instance, the Mean Series of Gadgeon had the 3 gangs, right? So if you're playing Druid and there's a lot fewer sets, you're going to get a lot more Jade cards. So you can more realistically expect to draft maybe not amazing, but probably a decent Jade Druid if you wanted to try to go in that direction in Arena. So I like that because it'll be more of a difference in what you can play. Right now in Arena, you really just try to fill out your curve. Your goal is very one-dimensional. And if the goal of drafting synergy is obtainable at a decent enough frequency, that might be pretty cool. I don't know what that'll do for, the actual gameplay in Arena. I don't know how successful it'll be to actually play Jade decks and similar archetypes and similar synergies throughout the different classes. I don't know. But I like the idea of having different directions in the draft process, which is brought by a smaller card pool. But again, really, it's good. The test is going to be in the details because, just having the card pool still might mean that you won't get a decent Jade deck on average, so it's better to not try. So it's in the details, and the next point maybe goes there. They want to decrease the number of commons that you draft in Arena, which might enable you to more realistically get synergy, but again, it's mostly in the details on how they work that out. So commons right now are actually some of the best cards in Arena, but that's because of the flow, that's because of the lack of synergy between the cards. So commons may not be overall the best cards, but I still think they will be. Right now, some of the commons in the game are stronger than all but 1 or 2 legendary cards. So for instance, the new Priest card, the Talon Priest, I think is better than every single card in the game except Dr. Boom. It's a common and has a ridiculously high occurrence bonus. So surprise, surprise, Priest is a pretty powerful and fairly popular class in Arena these days. But is that good? Again, it kind of goes back to my original issue with Arena. I think it's not good, and the card is overly powerful, and it's an early game card. So even though it's Priest, and it's nice to see Priest doing well in any format ever, it's a very punishing gameplay where if your opponent goes first, has a 2-drop, and you can't clear the 2-drop, and usually when you're going second, that is the case, then they have a Talon Priest, you instantaneously lose the game. So it's a power level that is not fun to play around. So again, the details are really what's going to matter here. A few other things they want to do, like leaderboard top 100 starting in early February with 30 minimum runs required. Hopefully I'll make some of these top lists as I have in the past, but it's Arena. With a smaller sample size, it's probably going to go to players who just get really lucky in a short time span. But it might be fun, sure, whatever. They want to increase the number of spells that you draft in Arena, and this is a really interesting one. I think this is, out of all the changes they've proposed for Arena, this is my favorite one, because normally when you draft an Arena deck, you get very few spells, and this makes it so your deck is very one-dimensional. You have to rely on minions to trade, and as a result of that, it's very important, 1, to go first, and 2, to curve out, which makes the gameplay overall lackluster and not very exciting. With a lot of spells, with too many spells, and it's very difficult to know when you actually have too many spells, I think it's usually at about half of your deck. If half of your deck is spells, particularly low quality or too situational spells, you're going to be in a spot where you don't have enough active plays, and even though your card quality in your deck might be very good, it's going to be very difficult to actually win games. And they're actually targeting decks that are balanced with minions versus spells. So kind of, combining this with a lot of the other points that they want to push, it might actually be pretty exciting, because it might be more of a drafting process of understanding and developing synergy within your deck, and understanding and developing a balance between active and reactive plays with a number of, much higher amount of spells that you will soon be offered. So, it'll be very difficult, if all of these things are done well, of course, to designate a good deck with just enough spells, or, you go a little bit overboard and your deck is not consistent enough. So very, very cool stuff. Whatever the case is, they said they'll announce it soon, and they have a few other tools that allow them to do some different things. Now, they didn't announce the different things, and the main thought that I got from watching parts of the Q&A was that all this is pretty good, but I still kind of wish they'd do more. If you sum up all the things they talk about, I think Arena will move in a positive direction, and it'll probably be good for the game. But, I've played other games recently, and a lot of other games have some truly innovative and amazing ways they handle their arenas, and I hope that Blizzard doesn't just stop here. I hope they don't go, oh yeah, let's make it standard, let's make a bunch of spells, and let's just leave it where it is until people start complaining again 3 years from now. So I do want to see more proactive changes. I know that Blizzard really, really cares about their ranked mode, and is extremely conservative when making any changes whatsoever towards the ranked mode, but I really think they should lighten up and have Arena be what it is. Arena should just be a place where it's a very different game mode. You really focus on fun, and you focus on making the best out of usually difficult and bad situations, and bad decks, and bad combos, and bad hands, and all that. And making that system closer to the ranked format, making it standard, making it synergy, that can go in a wrong direction, because the game mode may no longer be very different, and may no longer have that special uniqueness, the fact that you have to play with, generally weak cards and weak combos. So we'll see. It's gonna be in the details. I think the news is overall good, but I do hope to hear more about what they have planned in the future, aside from the things that they mentioned already. Let me know what you think. Hope you guys enjoyed my review, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.